From the Delhi studios of Republic TV, it's time for Arnab Goswami on The Debate.
And this is an extended debate tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, the visit of another US delegation to Taiwan has totally rattled the Chinese administration. China says now, sounding like Russia, the US will have to pay a heavy price for this. Will China move on Taiwan? If it does, what will happen next? How far will it spiral? Here's the latest, and then big debate.
As Russia bombards Ukraine, its friend China is learning from the last 7 days, picking up lessons.
美方派任何人展示所谓对台支持，都是徒劳的。中方敦促美方恪守一个中国原则和中美3个联合公报规定，停止任何形式的美台官方往来，慎重处理涉台问题，以免进一步严重损害中美关系大局和台海和平稳定。
As Ukraine goes on an offensive, China is in an aggressive mode, and that's because a US delegation has arrived in Taiwan, and the timing couldn't be more interesting.
I lead this delegation of private citizens to voice our support for the continued and growing strength of the vital partnership between the United States and Taiwan. We come to Taiwan at a very difficult and critical moment in world history. As President Biden has said, democracy is facing sustained and alarming challenges, most recently in Ukraine.
China is furious and strangely finds itself in a position that Russia found itself with American intervention with NATO and Ukraine.
如果美方想要借此给台独分子撑腰打气的话，我们要告诉美方，这只会加速台独势力的覆灭，美方也将为其冒险行径付出沉重代价。
Is Taiwan next? Let's debate.
Dr. Roger Teo, Taiwan analyst, is giving us the Taiwan view tonight. Victor Gao is giving us the China view tonight from Beijing. And General G.D. Bakshi is with us live on this extended session of the debate. My apologies to all our panelists because my last debate got very heated. I had to extend it, so this debate is delayed. But a lot of people, I can tell you, are watching this live tonight. Dr. Roger Liu, I want you to begin by telling Victor Gao, who has been saying on my program that it is inevitable that they will take over Taiwan, who has been threatening anyone who intervenes in the inevitable takeover of Taiwan with grave consequences, on whether it's going to be as simple as that.
Arnab, well, China has been saying this for 70 years, since 1949, since they get the Generalissimo Chiang Kai-shek over the island. They have been trying to retake Taiwan. Actually, they are trying to do that in 1949, but unfortunately it got stopped by the Korean War. Well, Taiwan is easy to take. Well, it is not. If it is so, well, the CCP would have done that already. So I think, well, according to Secretary General Xi Jinping's plan, well, he will try to subdue Taiwan without using any force. He will try to buy Taiwan rather than retake Taiwan by force because he will know that he will suffer a lot. His PLA, People's Liberation Army, will be suffering a lot if they try to launch a taking island operation. But, well, like we have seen in the past few days, things can change in seconds, days, or weeks. Vladimir Putin, does he really want to take Ukraine by force? Well, most of the people, most of the pundits, most of the analysts, days before, weeks before his attack, most of the people in the world guess he is not going to do that because it doesn't fit his interest. But he did that. So we cannot rule out the possibility that Chairman Xi Jinping will try to do that, run the risk of doing that. But the key question we have to ask, are they really able to do that? This is the key question because for military operations, there can be myriad of choices, right? To retake Taiwan truly by force and occupy that without generating so much hatred among the Taiwanese people is never that easy. What is the strength of the troops that China is going to prepare? 1 lakh, 2 lakhs, or more than that? It's hard to transport all these PLA soldiers to cross the ocean, to cross the Taiwan Strait, even if it's just 100 miles wide. They have to overcome that before they can do that. So for the CCP, the best option is always to buy Taiwan, to subdue Taiwan, to threat Taiwan that he's going to use force and to kind of collapse, make Taiwan collapse from inside and say, well, we will surrender to you. So I think this is what they're expecting. But they are going to make the situation really tense. They're going to make the whole world believe that they are going to take Taiwan by force so that the rest of the world will force Taiwan to sit by the negotiation table and talk about unification. But is it going to happen? Let's see what the response of all the European countries led by the U.S. has been responding to Russia, led by Putin. Let's see. If Putin is really want to play the role as a bad boy, is Chairman Xi is going to be a bad boy better than him?
Dr. Roger Liu, Xi Jinping is very, very desperate. He has to get a third term. He's being questioned within his own party circles. There is a lot of political unrest over his wanting a third term, and he needs to prove that he can do something, to bring some, people rallying to his support. But Victor Gao, I think China should perish the thought, because it's going to be extremely, extremely dangerous for China. And I think what you're thinking is you'll set the precedent here, but it'll be very difficult because Taiwan has a military deal with the United States. Ukraine was not and is not a member of NATO. But the United States has a political commitment with Taiwan, militarily. So the situation is very different. Do you want to get into a military confrontation with the United States, with the rest of the world, which in this case has not happened? So Ukraine is not the correct precedent for you. It's not the example you should go by, Victor, I think.
Thank you very much for having me. First of all, thank you very much for having me. Let me refresh everyone's knowledge. Taiwan and the United States did have a defense treaty. The United States did base their troops in Taiwan, but they abrogated the Taiwan-U.S. defense treaty when, in 1979, the United States decided to withdraw all troops from Taiwan. When? In 1979. Why? Because they acknowledged that there is only one China, Taiwan is part of China, and the People's Republic of China is the sole legitimate representative of China. This is also the position of India and most of the countries in the world. This is also the position of the United Nations and all the international organizations in the world. This is the fact. No one can deny this fact. People on both sides of the Taiwan Strait are Chinese people. I'm living in Beijing. I'm a Beijinger, but I'm Chinese. this gentleman, distinguished gentleman, is living in Taiwan. He's Taiwanese, but he is Chinese. He and me are the same people. We belong to the same civilization. Another thing, allow me to emphasize, the national reunification of China, involving the two sides of the Taiwan Strait, will happen. It's the megatrend of our time. We want to do this in peaceful means. However, if peaceful means cannot be achieved, it will be achieved by non-peaceful means. The United States, as everyone can see, cannot send a single soldier to fight in Ukraine. I can assure you, the United States will not shed a single drop of American blood for the so-called defense of Taiwan. Why? Let's ask why. Because it is not in the fundamental interest of the American people to share the blood of the American soldiers for Taiwan independence. Let's wake up to the reality. If you do not believe it, look at what's happening in Ukraine. Look at what NATO is doing. They are doing nothing. They are letting Ukrainians to die for themselves. This will be the fate of Taiwan if, when national reunification happens. Let's do this in peaceful means. Why? Because people on both sides of the Taiwan Strait are Chinese. We have greater wisdom to achieve national reunification by peaceful means.
It appears to be well timed. Are you Chinese, Dr. Roger Liu? Are you Chinese? He says you're Chinese.
Ethnically speaking, we are all the Han people. But politically speaking, well, there is one government of Republic of China and Taiwan which has been functioning for the last 70 years. It has its own police, it has its own military, it has its own currency, it has its everything that a country needs. But just because of one reason that everybody knows on the world, that the PRC, or People's Republic of China, ruled by CCP, stops Taiwan from claiming its rights in the international arena. And that's the source of all problems. Well, Professor Gao, I need to discuss with you about the one China policy that you are talking about. Well, the syllogism that you have used here, well, the last part actually is not recognized by the U.S., that PRC is the only legitimate government of China. Because you have to remember, before 1979, the rest of the world, including the United States, recognized the Republic of China and Taiwan as the only legitimate government that can represent China, not the PRC, but the ROC.
There was a civil war, and the nationalist government was defeated on China's mainland and fled to Taiwan, and has remained there ever since. This is the status of the cross-strait relations. If you read the U.S. document, they recognize that there is one China. They supported the nationalist government in 1949. They bet on the wrong horse. They changed their position in 1979, and this remains the U.S. government policy. Now, the United States is having the cake and eating the cake at the same time. Whatever they are doing, including the two recent important visits by U.S. retired officers to Taiwan, is actually violation of their own principle. They are the illegitimate activities. And when the national reunification happens, they have no legal ground at all. They will not send any single soldier to shed American blood for Taiwan independence.
I'd like to, yes, of course. You know, one thing is clear. One thing is clear, Victor Gao. One thing is clear, Victor Gao, that American engagement and the West's engagement is very limited. And this is a dangerous precedent. But General Bakshi, it's a dangerous precedent from India's perspective as well, isn't it? Are we, who have been questioning Chinese expansionism, are we going to remain neutral in this as well?
Look, let me be blunt. I am not getting into any morality plays. I am speaking as an Indian military analyst. And my country's concerns are foremost to us soldiers. Period. Now, Arnab, I'd like you to take a look back at history. Cuba, 1962. The world was almost as close to a nuclear war as it is today. Today it is more so. Today it is more at peril than it ever was in Cuba. Right? Now, the point at issue is the cover of the Cuban crisis, missile crisis, was exploited by then China under Chairman Mao Zedong to settle scores with India. They attacked us in 1962. You know, it was a very, very surprise, treacherous attack because the Nehruvian government never anticipated that the China that it had tried to befriend, the China to whom it gave up its UN Security Council seat, the China whom it wanted to have as Asian powers together in a solidarity, betrayed it and attacked us. So frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if China chose this moment militarily to settle scores with Taiwan, as it had tried to do in 1962 with us. I would advise against it in purely military terms. What they do is their business. But I would advise them against it because President Joe Biden has expended whatever leeway that he had with the American people. He's not been able to stop COVID. He's not been able to, he didn't come out smelling of roses from Afghanistan, right? And the simple fact is, he is now being accused of totally ditching the people of Ukraine. He egged them on to poke the Russians in the eye. And when the Russians retaliated, he's gone and said that you are on your own. Now, can he afford to do it a second time, a third time in the same year? First with Afghanistan, then with Ukraine, and then with Taiwan.
It doesn't matter whether he can.
He is signing.
No, it doesn't matter whether he can.
Historical decline.
No, it doesn't matter whether he can. But will he respond militarily? My questions are. My question is: will he respond militarily? A. B. If you were to tell me that abstaining, right, in the Russian case is in India's national interest. When you say that's their own business, is being a quiet observer to Chinese expansionism in India's interest? We can say that Russia's ambitions in Ukraine are their business.
Sir.
But China's ambitions in its immediate neighborhood, isn't that what our strategic policy has been pivoted against? Are we not to question it?
That is, one second, Arnab. Now we are coming to the Indian part. Let me be blunt and straightforward.
Yes, we are.
As far as we are concerned, Taiwan is not in Europe. Taiwan is in Asia. Taiwan directly affects the military balance. You know, whether
India.
China claims it or whosoever claims it, China affects the military balance of India with China, Japan, Taiwan, Southeast Asia, India. I'm sorry, we are not in a friendly relation with China. We almost came to blows. We have 2 lakhs of troops deployed either way, more than the Russians deployed against the Ukrainians. Ukraine was of very little strategic relevance to us. Ukraine was of very little strategic relevance to us. Let me talk straightforward and blunt. You know, I'm not sure if he was ever a soldier, but let me talk like a soldier. The security of Taiwan affects us because if Taiwan goes, almost all the Chinese forces are freed to come against us. Period. It is as simple as that. If Japan goes, all the forces deployed against Japan are free to be used against India. If the countries of Southeast Asia fall, all the Chinese forces deployed against that country are free to come against India. That is the strategic calculus. We have stakes.
But the Chinese are.
We had no stakes in what happened in Ukraine.
No,
we had stakes to the extent.
No, but the Chinese are getting emboldened.
No, 1 second. Let me just finish.
No, the Chinese are getting emboldened. The Chinese are getting emboldened. No, but the Chinese are getting emboldened and they are looking at this. And I think that's where, Victor, you're making a big mistake. You are looking at whatever is happening in Ukraine and you're looking upon that as a laboratory experiment for Taiwan. And let me tell you, global intervention, allow me to complete. Victor, global intervention is inevitable in any case of conflict in Taiwan. You can take it in writing. Global intervention, right, is inevitable. Whether it be Japan, India, United States, others, right? And you can't afford to antagonize the entire world. You're already taken the load of Russia on your shoulders. The Russian economy, the Russian people all depend on you now, right? You've taken on their responsibility. Are you in any position to be too adventurous in Taiwan? Yes, please, Victor.
Thank you.
Yes, Victor.
China has been here for more than 5,000 years, and the Chinese people's national reunification will happen peacefully if we can, non-peacefully if it has to be. Now, this will be done not without difficulty. This will not be easy. This will be difficult. This will be challenging, but this will be done. Why? Because you are talking about the 1.4 billion Chinese people on both sides of the Taiwan Strait who want to do this. The Taiwan situation is not going to be decided by the 23 million people living in Taiwan. It will be decided by the more than 1.4 billion Chinese people on both sides of the Taiwan Strait. Now, the Indian guest mentioned China-India. Let me say one thing very quickly. As a matter of fact, in terms of national defense, India's worst enemy is the Himalayas. How can you fight against the Himalayas from lower altitude to a higher altitude? I think for thousands of years, the Chinese people and the Indian people never had any territorial disputes. The territorial disputes we now experience are leftovers from the British imperialists. We do not want to be victims to the British expansionists into China's Tibet, and the people on both sides of the Taiwan Strait will have enough wisdom to achieve this national goal without bloodshed. This is our dream. This is our hope. And I do believe people on both sides of the Taiwan Strait will live forever as brothers and sisters. One thing very quickly. Do you know who was in the seat of the United Nations Security Council permanent member? It was the Republic of China before 1971. The Republic of China was a member of the United Nations General Assembly and the Security Council. What happened in 1971? The Republic of China was voted out of the United Nations because more member countries supported the People's Republic of China. So, ROC and PRC are not two different countries. They are parts of the same China. This is very, very self-evident. So I hope our brothers and sisters in Taiwan will realize that they have brothers and sisters here on China's mainland. I have brothers and sisters in the form of this distinguished panelist from Taiwan. We are the same people. Simple.
You can't impose that.
Can I just
wanted to respond.
to that, Arnab?
Yes, yes, please, please.
We must learn from history, including very recent history. This is exactly what the Russians thought, that the Ukrainians were their brothers. What happened, Victor? What happened? Look at the way they are fighting. I think you should learn, because you are in a way lucky that before you launch anything major, you have had a very good look at a live situation where the emotive coloration was the same. Even the Russians felt the Ukrainians were part of us, were our brothers. But what happened? Ethnically, people may think they are the same, but linguistically, they were different. So we found Bangladeshis fighting against Punjabi Muslims in the 71 war that you were talking of. In the 71 war, Richard Nixon had made an overture for you, and you had turned against the Soviet Union. You had broken up from the Soviet Union. Each country looks after its own national interest. I'm sure you will look after yours, and I assure you, we will look after ours. We will defend ours if ever push comes to shove. We didn't ask for a war in 62. We didn't attack you in 62. You did.
With the Himalayas.
You did.
I wish you good luck in dealing with the Himalayas, sir.
No. Dealing
Well,
with the Himalayas,
I wish
Victor,
you
may
good
I
luck in
just,
acknowledging. I wish you I wish you good luck in acknowledging the bloody nose that you got in Galwan, which you must come to terms with. And Roger, Victor, remember this. You don't have a fighting army. You have to understand this. Your army has never successfully fought any war in the last 50 years. You don't have a fighting army anymore. So, don't play psychological games with the world. I thank you all. I thank Victor, I thank Roger, I thank General Bakshi. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been an extended session of the debate. It's been a day of very interesting developments. India has abstained of the vote in the United Nations. Sure to be a debate on that. A lot of focus on what is happening. As far as India's position is concerned. The focus, however, is on Belarus, ladies and gentlemen. And we have the maximum presence in Belarus. Maximum presence. We're the only ones where the talks will happen. So live coverage all through the day tomorrow, and tomorrow evening I'll be back. Till then, thank you for watching. Good night and goodbye.